everybody, and welcome to the Retro Release Podcast, the podcast where me and another host go through the development and release of some of the gaming industry's most high-profile games. And as always, I'm joined by Rob.
I'm the other host. Such a formal introduction.
I said other host, and it felt a bit wrong. But you are the other host, so it's not wrong, you know.
Well, I saw the script for this episode, and I'm just referred to as the other person in the entire thing. Talk to other person about this.
That's the ad-lib, I'll have you know, because you weren't on this when I started writing all the episodes, so you know.
True.
But this week we're going to play a game that I forced you to play, and I didn't think you'd enjoy, but it turned out that you actually really enjoyed it, didn't you?
Yeah, it's one of my favourite games of the year that I've played. It didn't come out this year.
It came out like 5 years ago.
No, it's one of my favourite games I played this year.
Yeah, it was Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
And
I'm late to the game. But...
Very late to the game, but you enjoyed it. You didn't play it all, did you? You just played most of the main game.
No, I played the main campaign.
Yeah.
But I didn't play the two sides.
You played the Shovel Knight campaign,
yeah.
basically, which is, the game's called Shovel Knight. I don't expect you to play as Basketball Knight.
Yeah.
And I did just say that because you've got a basketball in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Basketball Knight. Another sport expansion for the game.
Shooting hoops with a shovel.
Shovel Knight was released by Yacht Club Games on 26th of June 2014. So it was over 5 years ago.
Is that old?
Yes. It feels really old because it was on like the 3DS. I think I got it when we were in
college,
yeah. So that was about 5 years ago, wasn't it? Yeah, well, Yacht Club are Californian developers who formed in 2013, and they came from Way Forward Studios to create their own studio, like, you know, a bit of smaller indie. Basically, they became an indie team at that point. And on their press page, I thought I'd use that because probably the best way you can get a feel for who they are. They say, "We aim to create fun and challenging gameplay. We want to both tug at your heartstrings and delight you with levity and charm. We want to make games that play together with friends and family. Most of all, we want to give everyone the same collective types of game experiences that have defined our generation." Now, as a first piece of media to think about Shovel Knight, compare that to the Super Mario episode where I just talked about the fact that there's a castle with 3 floors.
Yeah, I think when you look at the last episode as well, and we went through like the intro to that, it's almost like you were unprepared for the first one. Obviously, it wasn't your fault. It was the Wikipedia page, but
yeah. Well, could you do me a favour and pull your mic a bit closer to you? Quick time, just a little bit. There we go. Lovely, professional. We're totally professional.
Lovely.
We've been doing this for years. Yeah. Nobody would even know.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Well, a bit more than that.
True.
Yeah. Extra week experience. But so I thought I'd ask the question: what is Shovel Knight, and what can you tell me before I can tell you what I've written down here?
Oh, he's very fun. I didn't play the game. No.
Not again.
Just like a basic sort of platform, would you call it?
Yeah, I would say so.
Like old school, down to the music, the graphics, everything. But do you want me to tell you the story?
Oh no, we'll go through. Well, tell me whatever you want to tell me first. Just we're in the intro, so you know, basic stuff, whatever you can come up with.
Yeah.
Ad lib a little bit.
Yeah, that's the one. No, so it's about a knight of the shovel who lost his. Why is it his wife?
No, Shield Knight is just like. It's never even implied that they're like romantically involved in any way. They seem to just be mates, which is fine. People of opposite genders can just be friends.
Yeah. See, I thought they were like.
I mean, you think they are, but it's never like explicitly stated, is it?
Regardless, Shield Knight gets locked in. I can't remember what it's called.
The Castle of Hassle.
That's the Castle of Hassle is what it's going to be called from now on. Shield Knight gets locked in the Castle of Hassle.
It's not the Castle of Hassle, but I just made that up on the spot and it should have been called that.
And Shovel Knight, who's the main protagonist of the story.
Well, his name's in the game.
You play as him, you go through levels, and it's very much like a Mega Man.
Yeah, it's Mega Man X, I would say so. Yeah, it's like that is one
a level is a boss.
Yeah,
and
the
they
end
make
of a
that
level
clear.
is a boss, basically, yeah. Well, let's see what I've got written down up to now, and we'll see what you've missed, if you've missed anything. I've just said that it's a 2D platformer in the style of Castlevania, Contra, DuckTales, Super Mario, Mega Man, and others. Now, I would say, so you got Mega Man, did we mention Mario? Well, we mentioned 64, but it is basically like a 2D Mario in that sense. It's left to right platforming. Castlevania, yeah, because there's the extra items that you can use and stuff. And then Contra, it's a bit like Contra. And then DuckTales, literally, the only reason I put it's like DuckTales is because in DuckTales you have the pogo stick that allows you to bounce, which you have in this, but it's a shovel.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense, but that's fine.
Yeah,
it's a shovel that you can bounce on people with, because that makes sense. But
pogo shovel.
Over the game's lifespan, it's seen releases on all major platforms. So it was 3DS, Wii U, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS4, PS3, PC, Switch. All the big ones.
The Russell Hobbs microwave.
Yeah, the phone.
Yeah.
The coffee mug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it on phone?
I think so.
Wow.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm just bullshitting you right now because I'm a horrible human being.
Yeah.
But
Second.
And it has different editions, and Shovel Knight has appearances in games. So to give you an idea just of how big the game is, it's big. It's got big. The fact that they've kept re-releasing it, they've released physical editions, they've released Amiibo for Nintendo consoles, they've released it on every console.
Which is big.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of
third-party Amiibos.
Yeah.
No, there aren't really. I don't think are there. There probably are others, but I can't think of anything.
Oh, there'd just be dead silence for ages while I think about it. But
yeah,
there's maybe Sonic.
Maybe, yeah, because that's the thing. When you well, then again, he's in Smash.
Yeah.
So I think if he had one, it would be a Smash one. But yeah, basically, it's got an Amiibo, which is a pretty big deal. It's proved that it's Nintendo friendly and it's sold well
for an indie as well.
Yeah, and I've said that the game sees a knight and his shovel, and then I put in brackets afterwards, Shovel Knight, just in case you don't know who I'm talking about.
You forgot.
Yeah, he journeys across the land to rescue Shield Knight, who we mentioned before, where she gets captured and she's in the Castle of Hassel.
Castle of Hassel.
100% Hassel Castle.
Yeah.
Ooh.
What's it called?
I don't know, but then I said she's taken by the Enchantress and her Order of No Quarter, which are all the bosses.
Yeah.
Basically, they're the bad guys. And then he traverses the different levels and towns while scaling upgrades and fighting enemies and bosses. Now, does that sound about right to you?
It's pretty much the game.
Yeah, pretty much the game. You've got like a little overworld and you like go between the different things.
The story's very minimal.
Yeah, it's basically
it's just what you said.
It's Mario basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
The princess is in another Castle of Hassel.
It's Mario with a boss at the end of every level.
Yeah, because Mario has a boss at the end of every world. This is kind of like it makes it sound cheap, but it's like one world, but every level has a boss instead of it being because there's not like 8 levels or something in there. 9.
I think so.
Because there's a level for each boss and then there's the final level.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note before we get into the actual development of the game that it was only possible thanks to Kickstarter, which is the online platform where you basically you put something up and you beg people for money.
Yeah, I think everyone knows a Kickstarter.
Yeah, yeah. Or what's the other ones that you have? Indiegogo or
Indiegogo and
Take My Money.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
TakeMyMoney.co.uk.
PayPal.
PayPal.
It's not. It's basically the same. Where it had not stretch goal. Its initial goal was $75,000, which it smashed and raised a total of $311,000 and $502 on top of that.
Nice.
That's a lot of money, and that's only coming from 15,000 backers. So with a quick bit of a matrix style maths, I figured out that on average that means a person donated $20.
That's big.
It's a decent amount.
Yeah.
Because I would have expected there to be loads of people that didn't donate that much. I suppose maybe a lot of people who have a lot of money donated like a couple of hundred though.
Yeah. No, but I mean, obviously, yeah, but I think it shows that it had a lot of traction before it was even a thing.
Yeah, I think that can be a problem for games like that where they become big before they're even out. No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that they just I wouldn't say, I'm not going to sit there and say No Man's Sky is bad. It's just Sony hyped it up to be something that it wasn't at the time.
No, I think saying it's bad is unfair.
Yeah.
Saying it released with a lot of issues and it wasn't what you said. It wasn't what it said on the tin.
Basically, people at Hello Games are probably like, so this is going to be an idea. It's going to be multiplayer. It's going to be, and then Sony are like, it's multiplayer right now.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, it blows up. But Shovel Knight, I think what it promised to be and what it is are essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
There's no sort of issues with that at any point. And that's why you see so much of the extra content, I would say, because they went over their stretch goal by like over nearly $250,000 over. So that's why, as I was telling you, and if you listen to this when it comes out, that there was a little sort of Nintendo style trailer made by Yacht Club Games where they talked about a load of the extra content that was coming out at the end of this year. The game came out like 5 years ago and they're still releasing stuff because they made so much money off it and just off the Kickstarter, and then when it actually came out off merch and releasing the game and getting money, that they can keep doing it. And I think not many other companies do that these days, which is
it's churn out the next one, isn't it?
Yeah, basically Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Mario then, but that's no.
Mario's different.
Yeah. Mario.
Have they ever had DLC in Mario? Odyssey's got a bit.
But it's
not really,
free.
yeah,
There's no like, not to my knowledge, there's not like, here's a big bit of extra content.
Yeah, and with Odyssey, it's not even like the DLC isn't story; it's the Luigi's balloon. Game
Luigi's balloon. Luigi's lost his balloons. He's literally like a child in that, isn't he? Because he's lost his balloons. You have to go get them. So yeah, now we'll get onto the conceptualization and development. There we go. It took me a minute, but we got there. So the first question that I would ask, and I don't know if it's the same question you would ask, is why a shovel?
Yeah,
Because that's weird, isn't it?
I just took it as quirk.
Like in Castlevania, you've got the whip.
Yeah.
In Borderlands, you've got the guns.
Mega Man, you've got your arm gun.
Yeah, it's like built into the character. Mario,
you've got your feet.
Or your hat.
Yeah.
Or your fists.
Do you punch your Mario?
Yeah, in Mario 64 you can punch. He does like his little...
Oh, I'm thinking of...
original Mario's.
Side-scrolling
Yeah, basically he's got his feeties. His little feeties.
Bowser's scared of feet.
What's the opposite of a foot fetish? Foot dislike?
Yeah. Foot fear. Foot phobia, I suppose.
Foot phobia, that's what Bowser's scared of.
Bowsies.
Feet. Bowsies.
Longy Bowser.
Longy Bowser. He doesn't like my feet. Oh, that's no. I'm not going to do the Mario impression. We did that in the first episode. I'm not going to sit and do a Mario impression every episode. We'll be there forever. But so the reason that the developers chose a shovel is because they were such a big fan of
shovels.
They were all construction workers in the past, and we just like shovels. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But the reason is because of Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, which is the second Zelda game, obviously, the one that people most forget about, which is the side-scrolling one. And they loved that the game had a sword thrust ability, which I was going to say, I don't know if you've seen it, but if you've played Shovel Knight, do you know when you do the normal attack and you like moves the shovel? Essentially that. They liked that move, and they thought it would be better suited to a shovel rather than a sword, because with a shovel you like... I'm doing the motion and you can't see. This is why.
Just like a side digging motion.
Yeah, like a digging motion. Like, just imagine a digging motion, and imagine that with a sword. It doesn't really make sense. It makes sense with a shovel, obviously, because shovels dig.
Yeah.
So.
Well, in Zelda it makes sense because a heavy sword needs a small boy.
Yeah.
So
well, he's not going to hold the end of the blade with his other hand.
He's like swinging up, isn't he?
Yeah, true. But so Shovel Knight from that was born, and it was apparently, according to developer Nick Wozniak, a joke conversation over lunch that kind of got way too serious. So it's like it came from a real place, but then they were sort of having a bit of fun with it, and it went a bit out of hand. And then they were like, actually, this is a pretty good idea, and it's unique and quirky, as you were saying. And I think that works, even though he's a knight with a shovel.
Yeah, but I think if it wasn't, try and imagine the game if it wasn't a shovel. If
Well,
it was just a
what
sword.
else could they have used?
No, but I just think that for me, the reason why I was always interested in the game is because it was funny.
Yeah,
like it's a night.
It has a sense
of the shovel.
It has a sense of humor about itself.
Yeah.
Like when you start a level, it'll say like "steal thy shovel" or stupid stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's not trying to be like, oh,
no, but
super
I mean,
serious.
In terms of like, because the weapon is a shovel and it's based around the shovel and the mechanics of the shovel, it's unique.
Yeah, it's
if
quite
it didn't
unique,
have that,
it?
it's just a normal side-scrolling game.
Well, I would say even with all the character injected to it, it would be just on the surface it would look normal, and that would probably have less. Like, I was kind of interested by the idea of a knight with a shovel because it's wacky, but you're also like, oh yeah, you could just use a shovel to like hit people with. It's like, yeah. I mean, but what else could they use? Like, I don't know, a chest of drawers. Chest of drawers knight. That's because you're sat in front of a chest of drawers. Like they could use
just wheeling them off.
Yeah, like he has a little wheel attack and they go towards enemies. Well, look, you could use a rake.
A rake makes sense.
And you could use like in Sideshow Bob in The Simpsons, you could throw it, and then when an enemy steps on it, it would like hit them in the face. That's not a bad idea. That's actually a great idea. It's not a great idea, but it could go somewhere. That
just got an idea for a game.
Can we make a game? Yeah. We've done 3 episodes of a gaming podcast. We are now game developers.
We know all the trials and tribulations.
Yeah, how fun it is. If for listeners there, Rob's brought back my intro from the first 2 episodes, which I sort of decided to scrap.
Yeah.
Because it sounded too formal.
Yeah, trials and tribulations.
Yeah. You're just going to say that.
Chronicling the trials and tribulations.
Luckily, I've not written it in my script anywhere, so It's not coming up again.
Yeah, I don't remember it, so you ain't getting the whole thing from me.
Yeah. What is up, guys?
What is up, guys? That's the new intro.
Just do it from a distance, like you're shouting, like you're in a different room.
Yeah,
you're not gonna come in. You're just gonna be recording from like the lounge
and just shout everything I say.
Yeah. A lot of success and the outreach of this game can be owed to one man outside of the studio, Yacht Club itself, called Dan Adelman. I think it's Adelman. It's Adlman. Adelman?
Good try.
Yeah, I mean, if it's wrong, apologies to our boy Dan.
Sorry, Dan.
Sorry, Daddy.
Sorry, Mr. Edelman.
So he, at the time of the game's release, was in charge of WiiWare over at Nintendo. If you remember what WiiWare was.
Oh, the
like
Mario game.
No, that's WarioWare, but
Yeah.
I think that's where they got the name from. Because WarioWare was like short form games. That's what WiiWare was. Like short form indie developed games that would just get released on. Like they supported indie developers in that way, which I think is really good. But so he was like in charge of that over at Nintendo at the time. And WiiWare is actually famous for being one of Nintendo's first forays into relationships with small scale publishers, like ones that would make 5-10 minute games or games like Shovel Knight, basically independent developers, and bring their games to Nintendo platforms. And I think you'll agree with me on this. I would say the Wii and the Wii U did, but the Switch has this problem where, because of that sort of mentality, the Switch has so much crap on it.
Oh no, it's so true.
Like every day it's like, here's another game.
Have you seen that they've got like adverts round on billboards now for the Switch?
Have they?
Yeah, and it brags and it says like over 3,000 games or something. And I read it and I just thought, well, you got 50 good ones though.
No, they've probably got more than... I found a couple of...
No, that was sarcasm. Yeah. But I mean, like, I'd say 2,000 of the games that are on the Switch are just the random games like Fishing Explorer 2. And it's just some daft game which is half made and someone's just trying to
like a Flash game.
Yeah. You see ones like... there's ones on there like jigsaw puzzle games at 30 quid.
What?
Yeah. Because it's just like some dumb idiot's going to buy it. Some
for his
55-year-old...
It'd probably be a guy for his kids.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just say, oh, that'd be nice. Not realising that it's half
But I have found a game which I'd never seen anywhere else before about like ninja. It's like a side scroller, but it's auto moving. And it's co-op, and it's about a rabbit and a fox who are ninjas, and they have to chase down a bunny rabbit who's stolen all the carrots from their like village, and it's like pixelated, but it's styled as like Japanese, like, and that was a good game, but you would never have found that anywhere else. I only found it from scrolling.
That's the downfall of it though. I'm not saying that all the games in there are crap. I'm saying that they've got so many games in there that are like indie developers, and it's as if anyone could just put a game on there at this point.
Which is both good and bad.
Because I'd say it's overall bad though, because it means how many people are going to find that game that you've just said that you can't remember the name of,
I think it's called Clash of Carrots or Ninjin Clash of Carrots. Genuinely, I can't really explain it to you. If you've got a Switch, just look it up and see if it takes your fancy, because it's actually quite fun.
But my point being is, like, you found that out of pure fluke, because there's so much garbage on there.
Yeah, true. That is very true.
I mean, it's beside the point. I'm just ranting about Switches.
Yeah, but I mean, we were talking about it, so. But then, if we continue from where I was before, Adelman was able to give Yacht Club then, because he was head of WiiWare, he was able to give the studio Wii U and 3DS kits, which means they could make sure that their game ran on the Wii U and the 3DS. And they were able to have Shovel Knight on Nintendo consoles, because they were able to make it run on those, and then they could bring it to Nintendo, and Nintendo would be like, this is a good game. And obviously it was. But I think that's a testament to it being picked up by somebody over at Nintendo. It's a testament to how it feels like a Nintendo game, but it isn't.
Really makes you feel like a shovel.
That's going to be a running joke for this. I can tell already.
But no, I agree.
Feels like you're being trodden into the dirt every day repeatedly. Oh wait, that's just human life.
That's just my life, I think, at this point. But no, I think you're right.
Yeah. Sorry, what was I right about? Because you just said, I think you're right, and I'm like, excuse me?
What you just said?
Oh yeah. It does feel like a Nintendo game though.
Yeah.
And I think with Nintendo games, it's about polish. I wondered how long we were going to keep up that dead silence for then.
I don't know why, but you said polish, and all I could think of was how polish and Polish, like the same word.
Like they're spelled exactly the same, but they're different words.
And I was thinking, there's a joke there.
The Marvel. Well, I don't know what you can't really make a joke involving Poland about video game polish, can you?
No. But no, I think you're right. I think Shovel Knight, when I played it as a whole, felt like a Nintendo game. It's very family friendly-ish, and for me that just screams Nintendo.
Yeah, family friend. Yeah,
like sort of cutesy, simple games
with the like quirks and jokes and stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, I'd agree with you.
Well, despite what I just said about basically them being spoon-fed their game on the Nintendo platform like immediately, it wasn't all that easy. However, there were some, as Rob was saying, trials and tribulations.
Oh,
my favorite thing.
Wow.
As just a week before PAX East 2013, which is where they were going to like promote the game, the team didn't have a game to show. Because you know how you hear a lot of the time that developers won't just give a sliver of the game and show it to you. They sort of make the demo from the ground up. On YouTube, there's a documentary about the new God of War. It's like 2 hours long. It's amazing. Seriously, I think you should watch it. I think anybody should watch it.
Yeah.
But it talks about how their E3 demo, they spent a year and a half making that. And it is like the end products. It's just they focus so much on having certain things happen and making sure the game ran they want. So it was like making a mini version of the game. So their demo, this is now the Shovel Knight demo, wasn't complete a week before.
Wow.
That's close, isn't it?
That's stress.
That is stress. And that's despite having half the dedicated.
Wow.
Half the team dedicated to developing the demo. And the other half were in charge of like Kickstarter and making sure that they had the stretch goals running too. Because even though they promised all these things on stretch goals, they couldn't really outsource it that much. Like they could, but they had to arrange it all. They had to make sure it all was working properly. So you can imagine that is, as you were saying, a stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did they get around it?
Well, here we go. Developer.
He's asked the right questions.
Oh, here we go.
It feels good.
Developer Sean Velasco said that at the time, and this is a quote, maybe we won't be able to get the demo done and we'll just have to have our banner at PAX East and some beanbags like to sit down on and Super Mario 64 and we'll just play it and tell people about the game even though there's no game to play. Just shoot the shit. Yeah. Just so the idea, and I can't tell if he's been, I read the article that this was from and there was nowhere in it where either the person doing the editorial or the developer himself said that was a joke. Imagine going to like a gaming convention and seeing a big banner for Shovel Knight and some beanbags and some TVs and the developers all sat there and you're like, this sounds amazing, I'm going to go check this out. And then it's just Mario. And he's just like, our game's great by the way guys, but this isn't it.
No, I remember you telling me about that. I didn't realise it was for Shovel Knight.
Yeah, I didn't want to spoil it for you. How brilliant. Like, I don't think the game would be in the same place marketing wise, and then maybe not where it is now if they didn't have the demo done. Imagine that. They bring you out and they play a 3D Mario and they go, right, so it's like Mario, but it's 2D, so it's not this game.
So did they end up having it ready?
Well, we're getting to that. I'm saying they didn't need to worry because they managed to get the demo done.
Oh.
They were close, and they did it. Well done, boys.
Well done, boys.
Well done for 5 years ago for getting your game
You're gonna
sorted.
go far, kid.
What's that from?
Anything with a guy that's younger.
Like any sort of, I was gonna say buddy cop film. Any sort of like mentor film.
Yeah,
like Daddy's Home
anything.
or Big Daddy.
Yeah, I was thinking of the Offspring song.
The Offspring. Oh yeah.
Yeah, good song.
Yeah, it's a great song. Offspring have a load of good songs. That's completely unrelated to what we're talking about, but the Offspring do have good songs, for real. But so they didn't need to worry because lots of people played the demo because they managed to get it done. And even more raved about it online, praising it for its throwback art style, tight controls, and interesting world. Joe Donato over at Game Zone said, for anyone with the slightest bit of nostalgia for the NES era, Shovel Knight is seriously inviting, even if you're jaded by the retro cool fad. So across the board, it was being praised. And I think what good old Joe Donato has said there, Joe Donut Boy, has said
that could be the worst one yet.
It's not even a pun, it's just me taking a word that sounds vague. Oh, that is a pun. But I think what he said there about even if you're jaded by the retro cool fad, that this is good. I think that's a massive testament to the game because for the longest time, people have been making like 8-bit video games. Ever since they've not been a thing anymore, because everyone's like, "Oh, I just love them so much."
I suppose it's easy to make as well. It's easier than making.
Yeah, true. It sometimes is easier, but a lot of it depends what type of game you're making. Like,
No, but I mean, for an indie team, surely it must be easier to make something like that than make like you said before.
Oh yeah, I suppose yeah.
Do you know
well,
it
depends what tools you've got and what type of game you want to make. But I know what you mean. Yeah, part and parcel, it probably is easier to make a 2D platform than it is to make an indie version of Skyrim.
I think it'd be easier to, because obviously the trials and tribulations of of Skyrim, there's probably a lot because it was a big game,
big boy game.
I think it'd be good to talk about how it's been re-released every 4 seconds.
And then we can talk about how Bethesda have gone in the gutter because they treat their audience like shit. Whoopsie. That's Todd Howard. Every time something goes wrong, he's got a button that he presses and it just goes, whoopsie.
Yeah, like when he went to E3 and was like, yeah, we're really sorry about Fallout 76 being crap, but please just give it a chance.
Please, and then they also came out on the same press conference and went, it's got Battle Royale. Yeah. And then everyone was screaming. It's like, that's going to be terrible.
Yeah, and it was.
What a story. Game developer fucks up. Something was going to be terrible, and it was.
It's not as if it was a shock.
Yeah, I mean, because Fallout's not exactly known for its shooting mechanics.
And also, is it an overstep to say that the Battle Royale genre is dying?
I wouldn't say it's dying. I think people making versions of it's dying, but I think the ones that are out are still relatively popular, like Call of Duty, Blackout.
I don't know, because I don't hear anyone talking about it anymore.
Well, nobody talks about it, but I think they're still popular. I know that people watching them on stream has dropped. And
do you still play Fork Knife?
I never really played Fork Spoon.
It's
Fork Spoon.
I played it until they introduced planes, and I just thought,
they started introducing crazy shit, and at first I was like, oh, it's great that they keep adding content to this game, and then it's like, you can have a 2-player mech, and I'm like, no, this is too much.
Yeah, you just make a second map, we'd be happy with that.
Yeah, true. Just expand the game at its core, rather than just adding loads of things around the periphery, just like random dumb shit.
This is a complete sidestep, but it just makes me laugh that when you go on, it still says early access.
Does it still?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
The game's gonna start going downhill from here. It already has in terms of people playing it.
Yeah.
And it's still early access
because other companies do it better.
The game is the point. Yeah, the point of the game. The battle royale side of Fortnite isn't Fortnite, and I think everyone forgets that.
Yeah, because Fortnite's it's meant
its
to
own
be
game. It's like the tower defense.
Third-person shooter tower defense against zombie build things game.
But I don't think anyone.
That's the only reason the build mechanic's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a weird thing. But nevertheless, we're talking about Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight.
And Shovel Knight.
What? Opening my bottle, but have you seen the video of the guy when he's like, how to open Velcro in the woods so that no one will hate you? It's like
screams.
A tactical guy, and he goes, yeah, so you just get in, you just go.
It's like, yeah, nobody heard you open the bottle, but he just heard you go. Shovel Knight, as mentioned before, was made to look like an NES game, but the 2D game was actually made in a 3D space.
Wow.
And I put an exclamation point after that, and I didn't really go made in a 3D space.
The funny thing about that is that I like to imagine that you're saying it was made in a 3D space, and the game's 2D, but they made it in a 3D world.
The real world is actually 3 dimensions. No, but so do you understand what I mean by that? It was made in a 3D space.
Yeah. So does that mean that? I know what it is, but I'm just gonna sound dumb. I'm gonna.
In the game's engine, when they were making it, there's footage of this online. You can move the camera around and it pans around. It pans, even though what the game is actually still 2D. It's 1 pixel thick. You can move the camera around, and the reason that they did this is because if you watch the YouTube show Boundary Break, don't know if you've ever watched that.
I've heard of it.
Now, I got this from there. I was just going to talk about this, but I thought, got to give Boundary Break some credit because the guy that does that is amazing.
Yeah, and he did an episode on Simpsons Hit and Run.
Oh, he did. Yeah, that was a great episode. Yeah, just
watch that one.
I like how this entire podcast is just me saying, "Watch this, play this." But seriously, yeah.
After the podcast.
Yeah, after you got to listen to it first, people.
Yeah.
But he found that the background character models, foreground, and moving objects in the game were all in a 3D space and on different planes. So my easiest way to explain this is, for example, I don't know if this is exactly how it is, but the enemies and Shovel Knight might be the closest to the camera. Then you might have the foreground platforms, and then behind that you might have platforms that come out from behind the wall, and then you might have the background.
So it works like old school animation.
Yeah.
Where it's It's exactly what it's like. Slides.
Yeah,
isn't it?
because if you think about the way the game works, when you play it, you see the background, don't you? And it moves. Yeah. It moves slightly. Some parts of it stay still, but then maybe if there's like clouds, they move slightly. That's because they're on different levels and they're programmed to move at different speeds. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they've had to animate it on one thing. They've done it on different levels to make it a bit easier to like move around and visualize it and like pull bits out and put bits in and things like that. And they all interact with one another, even if they're on different planes. So there might be an enemy that's like 3, I don't know, spaces behind you. But when they come into contact, if you're looking straight at them, they come into contact. Like they're programmed to all interact with each other. Or, well, the backgrounds don't interact with anything else, but certain parts are programmed to interact with each other, even if they don't look like they will when you turn, let's say you turn the camera. But you can't turn the camera in Shovel Knight, can you?
No.
Then you'd see that the game is wacky as all hell, and there's like different. It's like you're high, and there's like different things all over the screen. But in the Boundary Break video, the developer David D'Angelo says that this was done because it's just easier to set the game up, and that at the time of making the engine for the game, they weren't actually entirely sure what they were going to make. So they just wanted to make sure all the bases were covered. So they thought, well, if we make a 3D engine, we can make a 3D game. And making things in a 3D engine is just easier. So we'll just do that from the beginning. Because they made their own engine. So instead of constraining themselves, even though they've made a 2D game, they thought, well, what the hell, we'll just put it in a 3D space. Because make that part of your job easier, because why not?
Yeah.
Well, that's it. It's not the end of the podcast. It was just you were staring at me. For everybody listening, Rob was just staring at me, and I'm like, what do I say to that? Yeah. I'm just like, that's it.
Yeah.
But on my script here, I've got in red, what do you think of that? So what do you think of that?
I don't know. I don't really. It sounds good.
It sounds interesting, but also good. But it's really difficult to talk about that on a podcast. It's more just watch the video and you'll sort of fully understand what I mean.
Yeah, I think the thing of that was it was an interesting thing to know. There's not much for me to add to it because I don't really know about making games. Anything I would say would be dumb.
So we've talked about how the game looked like an NES game, but as you've said, Rob,
did you feel like an NES game?
Oh, I'm going into that! Just imagine like an NES game with my face on it, and I just get sucked into the console, like in the new Jumanji.
Yeah. What is up, guys?
I'm in Shovel Knight.
Bomb.
Oh, good old Ali A meme.
We love it. That's one I wish would never die out. But
it was a great meme. Absolutely stellar meme.
Just like a mean shit in Chipotle. You've seen that one?
Yes, I have. For everybody listening, is it the guy who's running out the Chipotle with his phone?
Yeah, he's recording himself and he's going on like, oh man, I need to get out of here. I need to leave. They're chasing after me. People are screaming, oh god. And he goes and hides around a car. And he's like a mean shit in Chipotle. And then the Ali intro plays, and it's just really, it's a really good time.
Yeah, it's a great
link in
meme.
the description below.
But there might be a link in the description. There might not. So that's a surprise for everybody listening. Yeah. Check it now. There might be a link there. There probably won't be because I can't be bothered putting it in.
Yeah, it's not even that. I'm not even going to give you the link and you just have to find it. I think it's the name of the video.
We can read out the we can read out the link. HTTPS : dash w. I'm not going to be there all day. But so. The game's music is similar to its art style in that it was made to emulate an NES style. So it was synthesized. Rob's doing the thing, do you know, where you turn your hands upside down and you rest your hands on the rest of your face and it's like you've got goggles on.
I like to imagine that you're just telling me.
Well, I am just telling you. Nobody's listening right now because we're not doing this live. We'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. Fuck it. I don't know what the fuck that means.
This podcast is going to devolve into us just quoting memes. Some of them vaguely video game related.
That's why literally we can't do it live.
Yeah, because we're just talking about memes, and if people in the audience don't know what it is, it'd just be like a cricket, just a really silent note. So if we get back onto it, the music was made to be like an NES game's music because it was like chiptune and retro and synthesized and all that. The game's composer, Jake Kaufman, who, after looking this up, he actually got his start on Cubert, if you know what that game is.
Heard of it, yeah.
The little orange guy with the big snozzle, like Birdo.
Big snozzle.
He's got a big nose. He's a big boy.
Big boy.
He's actually a small boy, but he's just got a big nose. This is done in a chiptune style, which is synthesized through 8-bit. An 8-bit style, which is what I was saying before. I didn't read his head of the script, so I've just repeated what I just said, but that's fine. This style was commonly used in conjunction with video games in the late 1980s, so its placement in Shovel Knight shouldn't be so surprising, really, if it's meant to be like an NES game, and the chiptuney sort of style was used back then. This style of music even uses different handheld consoles, like the Game Boy, in its more modern iterations. So I'm trying to think of a way to explain this. Like, I don't really know how it works, but you'll plug like a Game Boy into a synthesizer, which is in a computer, so then the sounds that the Game Boy makes can be used.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
Like the bleeps and bloops.
Is the keyboard essentially programmed to just make the sort of sprite noises?
Yeah, exactly. Cool. However, most importantly, the soundtrack. And this is exactly what I've written here, and I forgot I did. I've said, however, most importantly, the soundtrack absolutely smashes. But it does. It is
really good.
Like when you boot up the game and it's like, and it kicks.
Go for it.
I'm not doing the whole thing.
I'm not stare you dead in the face with my little glasses.
But no, it's a great soundtrack. The main theme that always plays is incredible. Like I always just play that on loop because you can change the song in the game with the bard. Yeah, that bard's meant to be Jake Kaufman as well. Like he wrote all the dialogue for him. And he said he should have a little lute and he should do his little hop and stuff so he injected his character into that character to make, I'd say, not make it more authentic, but just
it's a nice
touch.
But I know that the music for me was one of the things that made it so endearing.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would say is annoying about it is that like it's on a short loop, and when you're as bad as games as at games,
no, and
you just kept dying, and I think
it was just hear, dun 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 dun.
It was. There's a world that I really, really struggled on. It was one I told you about. Was it this?
The one with the Spectre Knight at the end, or the graveyard one.
The reason being, and I'd just like to talk about this for a brief second because I didn't realise, is you walk past the checkpoints and you can destroy the checkpoints to get like money, but then it destroys the checkpoint. You don't go back to it,
and you just kept.
I didn't realise that was a thing, so I just kept breaking the checkpoints. Would get to the end and die and have to do the whole world again. So it took me like a good 3 hours to do like the second level.
I remember calling you a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I was messaging you being like, Will, why is the game so difficult?
I'm like, it's not that difficult.
And you're like, it's not that hard. And I was like, yeah, it is. I said, the first level, the second level were fine. The third level, I can't do it. I don't understand what's going on. And you're like, just like, what? I don't get it. I don't get what's hard.
And then you mentioned the thing about destroying the...
Yeah.
And I was like, you're not supposed to do that, you idiot.
Wait, it didn't say.
I mean, you can, and the point of doing that is... It's a mechanic. It makes it harder, but you get lots of money for the checkpoints that you destroy. So if you can get through, then you get more money, so you can get better upgrades quicker.
Yeah.
So, it's a risk versus reward. Classic video game design.
Ooh, you love it.
Ooh, we love it. Risk versus reward. The game's Kickstarter massively exceeded its goal, and this meant that the team had stretch goals to account for, as I mentioned before. And these range from giving out the music on like CDs to posters to adding extra things to the game, like minor details is things like gender swap or pronoun swap, which they've just added actually, to the extra campaign content that, we talked about. So I decided to do my little detective snooping digging using my research degree to its full potential. So I looked on Kickstarter and I looked at all the tiers, and the most expensive tier was $5,000.
Oh, did anyone get it?
No one got it, but this is what the reward was, and I have to imagine that the developers were taking the piss with this.
Yeah,
but maybe they weren't, because if they were like, this person's given us $5,000, but they said Yacht Club would throw you a yacht party. So they were like, on the thing it says, if you donate to this tier, we'll throw a party for you and a few of your friends, and all the developers will be there, and you can chat to us about the game, and we'll just have a good time and drink and chat, which sounds cool, but you have to spend $5,000.
Do you know what? How much would it be to have a yacht party?
Probably about $5,000.
Because you'd have to hire the yacht,
and then you'd have to get food and drinks. Probably not.
You have to buy friends.
Well, apparently, according to this Kickstarter, you do.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, like, that they're really selling themselves short there.
Yeah, Poor Yacht Club. Oh. But I think it has to. I think it's a bit of a joke.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
They do that all the time.
Yeah, they have a sense of humour about themselves.
Yeah.
we'll get to some of that as well. Some of the interesting things that happen. But it wasn't actually just the game itself that was affected by these donations. A Polygon article tells us that the team got a new office. So, you know, with the money, they were like, let's up our game, let's get some new equipment, let's move into a new place, just so they could, as you do when you want to improve, you sort of refresh, you know, move locations and things like that.
Like when we want to improve, and then I won't be sat on the floor.
Yeah, basically, we could afford to get rob a chair and not use the chair from my laptop that's recording.
So I'm just sat on the floor on a cushion.
I mean, you look all right over there.
Yeah, feels it.
Yeah, oh, that's good. But so one particular sort of thing about this caught my eye. Apparently, the walls were like adorned with like nerdy posters, which you can imagine they're all game developers in like the 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Yeah.
So they've grown up with like, you know, Star Trek and Star Wars and things like that. But there's one part from this article that I thought was absolutely hilarious. So apparently they have a framed portrait of George Lucas in a military uniform.
Right.
And this is, and I quote this, it's apparently because they looked to him at the time of any business deal, and he was dubbed the patron saint of shilling for his notorious ability to milk his intellectual property dry. So every time they had a business deal, they'd look to the poster and be like, right, we're going to make as much money as humanly possible from this. Who's done that? Oh, George Lucas. Because he famously sold Star Wars for $4 billion.
Was it $4 billion?
$4 billion.
Well, Force Awakens made like 1.2 billion, I want to say.
Yeah. Like the films themselves, I think, when all said and done,
yeah,
like including the spin-off ones, so there's going to be about 5 or 6 of them. They'll have made $4 billion back probably.
Don't forget, you know.
And then you've got absolutely everything else. You've got video games, TV shows, comic books, merch, just merch in general. Yeah, like everything in the Disney store.
Little toy dolls.
So, but I was just thinking about that. Imagine having that photo in your house. So
he says this as if I've not got a framed picture of Ainsley Harriott on my wall.
I mean, it's not framed.
It is.
It's like, okay, it's in like a little cardboard frame, but he's got a signed. Is it actually signed by him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says sweetest sizzles forever.
Yeah, but then again, he's not in a military uniform, is it? You don't look to him every time you cook to be like, true, I want to cook like this. So now we get to the point where release and post-release. So contrary to what anybody listening might be thinking, Shovel Knight did come out. It's a game. It's alive.
I was waiting for something else then.
What were you waiting for?
Like something to follow it up.
Oh. that was kind of the joke. I'd just go, it came out. That's it.
It came out.
But
see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. But no, now we're on to the release and post-release part of the podcast where we sort of talk about how it was received and then what they did afterwards, if they did anything, and what might be coming up, because Shovel Knight, spoilers, still has things happening now, even though the game's 5 years old. I'm whispering sweet nothings into this microphone.
Doing a George Lucas.
How's that a George Lucas?
Milking it.
Oh, milking it.
Yeah. They're not. I respect them for it. But...
No, because they've made money off it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're releasing all this for free, mind you. So they're not milking it, technically.
True.
But the game was released to critical acclaim, with its 3DS and Wii U versions having scores of 90% and above on Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes. In its first week, it sold 75,000 copies, and that's on top of all the Kickstarter backers who were giving copies for donating. So those people just got copies. They actually sold 75,000 from people who didn't donate anything. And within a month, they hit double with 150,000.
Wow. But if you think about it, how many guys worked on it?
I've seen a video of them in their office. There's probably about 20,
20, yeah.
10 to 20.
And it cost how much? About £15 to buy it?
Yeah.
150,000 times $15. That's a lot of money that they've made.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, they don't see all of that money, but...
No, they don't, but, like, I'm saying, like, for 20 guys to go out and make that much money...
But then you've also
obviously, they won't make... I'm not saying they're pocketing it all.
Yeah.
But, like, that's a big achievement.
Then you've got Amiibo merchandising, storefront merchandising, just merch, because there is quite a bit of merch with it in general. And when they release a new version, because it has DLC, and they release the physical versions and things like that. And those statistics are from, like, the first month, as I said. The game's been out for 5 years.
Yeah.
The game's out. Well, it was out. What happens next? Well, the reviews and sales are reflected in the game's sheer number of awards and nominations, as on Wikipedia, you can see that it was nominated for 19 awards and won 8 of them. And this included the Game Awards, Best Independent Game. Now, do you know the Game Awards? It's like the biggest game awards.
Whoa!
Yeah, they're in December actually. They're coming up.
Yeah.
Maybe Shovel Knight will get another one for being the best indie game 5 years on the bounce.
And now we come to the next category.
No.
Best game from 2014.
Every year. Yeah. Super Mario Brothers 2. That's a donkey joke. I can't steal that.
It is.
Yeah. As I said it, I was like, I'm not going to cut this out, but
I say feels like insert thing.
Yeah.
That's a donkey thing.
It's a donkey joke, but it's also a gaming industry laughing stock because it's an actual thing that gaming, especially when Batman and when superhero games come out, they just do it all the time.
Yeah. Makes you feel like Spider-Man.
Spiders. So, as mentioned throughout the podcast, the developers weren't done. They now had so much promised extra content to make, and this included 3 extra campaigns where you play with the bosses of the game, 2 of which are out. The first one was Plague Knight.
Yeah.
The next one was Spectre Knight, and the new one's King Knight.
You've played them, haven't you?
I've played a bit. I've finished Plague Knight, and I played a bit of Spectre Knight. Now, Plague Knight, what they do is you basically do the game again when you fight all the different bosses, and Shovel Knight becomes one of the bosses. And
is he the final boss?
No, I don't think so. I think the final boss is the Enchantress again. But they redesign the levels to fit the mechanics. Like, for example, Plague Knight can only do a single smaller jump, but he can like throw, alchemist vials and things that do different things. Some of them align to like double jump. Some of them like bounce off walls. Some of them explode pieces of the environment. So that changes that mechanic. And then Spectre Knight can run up walls and like wall jump. He can slide on these rails like a Tony Hawk skateboarder.
Yeah.
And he can slash these lamps. So like he jumps and you slash it, and you can either slash it from top to bottom and go down, or bottom to top and like go up, so it's like an extra bit of elevation and stuff. So they changed the mechanics around for different characters. So it's not just like Shovel Knight but reskinned.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of ways it is, but it's not exactly the same.
There's a reason to play it.
Yeah, basically. These campaigns are 100% worth your time, especially considering they're free. And then different versions of the game, so like the Xbox version had a Battletoads level, and the PlayStation version had a Kratos level.
No.
And you could fight Kratos and you could fight the Battletoads, and there's like a little version of Kratos. And as you mentioned before, there's Nintendo Amiibo. Like, there's a Shovel Knight one, a King Knight one, and I think there's a Shield Knight one. There's 2 or 3. So, there's a lot of stuff. And there's even a battle mode coming out called Shovel Showdown, which is essentially...
Which is a 50-player battle royale.
It's not. It's quite literally just Smash.
Is it?
It looks like they've changed the mechanics around a little bit. It looks the same, and it's just Smash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, good game, boys.
I'm going to ask a dumb question.
Here we go.
Is Shovel Knight in Smash?
No, he has a trophy. So, trophies in Smash?
Yeah.
He has one of those, and he like comes on the screen and like does his shovel pogo bounce and tries to attack people. I think it's a shame, because if you can have like Banjo-Kazooie in Smash, Shovel Knight in Smash would have been amazing.
Yeah.
That would have been proof that indie games can be big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the fact that they sort of partnered up with Nintendo from the beginning sort of shows that indie games can be big.
Yeah.
And Shovel Knight had also appeared in games like Rivals of Aether, which I've never played, but it's like a fighting game. And his most famous appearance is in a game, I would say, where you don't even play as him, which is in another Kickstarter game, Yooka-Laylee, where famously they removed JonTron, but they kept in Shovel Knight. JonTron, they just, before the game came out, nobody knew he would be in it, and then the developers are like, we're taking JonTron out, because back in a couple of years ago when JonTron was being a bit controversial.
No.
I won't speak too much.
Which one?
Yeah, but they said, oh, we're removing him from the game, but everybody at the time even said, even people that agreed or disagreed were like, they could have avoided this sort of backlash or bad media attention if they just didn't mention that they were removing him, because nobody knew he was in it.
Right, yeah.
So it's kind of like they've dug their own grave.
No one bought the game anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah. And I bought the game, it's not very good.
Yeah,
it's just empty. Compared to Banjo-Kazooie, it feels...
Doesn't feel.
It has the same sort of
feel like Banjo-Kazooie.
It makes you feel like a banjo.
Yeah.
And despite only being around for about 5 years, I would say Shovel Knight has already left a massive image on the gaming industry, and that's evidenced by his appearance in so many other games.
Honestly, I think, coming from someone that's not played it before this week, like this month,
yeah,
I feel like I missed out. Because
it's great, isn't it? Are you going to go back in and try and play some of the other campaigns as well?
I've already thought about just going back and playing the main campaign again.
I played it through like 3 times.
Yeah, it's I don't think there's certain games where like if you play it once, you don't need to really go back. It's you've seen it all, and you're done with it. But I think with Shovel Knight, because the levels are quite short, and like each level is very distinctively different, so you don't get bored of that level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, even though you might die on it over and over again because you keep destroying the checkpoints like an idiot.
But
not pointing any fingers.
It's a game that I can easily see myself going back to.
Yeah,
I already want to. I'm going to play it again soon.
Yeah,
and I'm definitely going to have.
And there's so much content coming out for it.
Yeah.
There's also, mentioning this, they just recently announced that there's a new Shovel Knight, like a new game coming out called Shovel Knight Dig, which is like, it's slightly different art style, but you dig down and the levels are like, instead of left to right, it's top to bottom.
That's cool.
Yeah. I don't know what to think of it just yet because it was only like a minute and a half.
Is it a sequel?
I don't really know. They just said we've got a new project and it's Shovel Knight Dig. And they showed a little bit of gameplay, so I don't really know what the deal is, but it looks cool. And I love Shovel Knight, so I don't have a problem with them shaking up the formula. Instead of going left to right, you go top to bottom. Yeah. It's a simple change, but I imagine they can do loads of great stuff with it.
Yeah.
But
it does break the first rule of Minecraft though.
Don't dig straight down.
Yeah.
You've got to do the little steps. Come on.
Come on.
What are you doing? Oh, but that was the third episode of our podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to everybody that's listened and any new listeners on the third episode.
Give us a review.
5 stars would help. Apparently that's how the iTunes algorithm works. If you want to give it 3 stars because you thought we're only worth 3 stars, that's fine.
If you want to give me 3 stars and Will 0.
Just balance it out and give us 1 star total. This is because Will's terrible.
Yeah. Also, big shout out to Will's brother. Thank you for being
followed us on Twitter.
Yeah.
What a ledge.
Yeah, we love you.
We do. Love you 3000.
Yeah, we do.
Our handle on Twitter is Release Retro, and if you want to email us, it's at retroreleasepod@gmail.com. Just if you want to recommend any games to us, or you just want to keep up to date on like when episodes come out on Twitter.
Will's life.
Or my life. Hi guys, Will here.
Nothing's going on, so
there's this. I'll just stream me editing the podcast
in silence in your underwear. Just like...
Oh yeah, there won't be any cameras, so you won't know I'm in my underwear.
That's true.
But yeah, you can subscribe to us on iTunes as well. We're also we're hosted on Podbean, so if you use Podbean, we're on there. But we're only on iTunes at the moment. We'll try and get on like Spotify, and there's a million different ones like Acast, and I don't know. There's a million different places to get your podcast. But we're on iTunes mainly because it's just the easiest place for us to set up on. But we'll expand a bit once we do a few more episodes, I think.